What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for episode 32 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Stone Ocean. Another phenomenal episode, man. Pucci versus weather forecast. Amazing episode, man. And yeah, personally, I don't think weather forecast is dead yet because we never saw his actual spirit leave his corpse. So until we see until we see the spirit man, because that's when you know a character's dead in JoJo. When you see their spirit leave their body, leave their corpse, that's when you know a character's dead. If you don't see that, then they're probably still alive in some way. But then again, to be fair, part 2, you had the whole thing with Caesar. There was no spirit lifting from his body, but that was before Stans got introduced. So, we'll have to wait and see on that. But because remember what happened with FF? There was no spirit the first time we saw her die, and then the second time we did see her spirit leave her body. So we'll have to wait and see on that, ladies and gentlemen, but I don't think weather forecast is dead yet. I could be wrong and he is dead, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see on that. Anyway, guys, let's just jump right in. So he starts this off finding out that even the butterflies have been affected by mad snail disease. Anyway, we're with Hermes, Jolene, and Versus as they're in the car. The car is obviously swerving all over the goddamn place because of the snails, and they don't exactly have hands at the moment. And Hermes is reminding Versus that if he tries anything funny, she'll kill him. And he's like, do I look like I have the composure to even try anything funny? And we also see that the snail suckers are all starting to eat on his hands. We then head back over to Anastasia and weather forecast, and Anastasia's still kind of confused by the whole thing. He's like, "You want me to kill you?" Weather forecast says that the freak show that was probably is the dark side of his heart. So it seems like now weather forecast has reverted back to where he was. We saw him earlier on part 6 in the last couple of episodes, and not doing the whole revenge rage thing he was doing 2 episodes ago. So see, the weather forecast has returned back to what we saw of him throughout part 6. This time he just has his memory back, and because he kind of having very different feelings right now, as he keeps telling Anastasia that he wants him to kill him, and that he is the only person that can kill him, and tells him to avoid the snails, because if he turns into a snail, then nobody can kill him. And we also see Anastasia also kind of like when he tells him that, we see Anastasia like move his foot a little bit because the snails are starting to close in a little bit. I don't know about y'all, but I found these kind of scenes kind of humorous and entertaining whenever the characters start to get near the snails. We see them kind of moving around, shimming away from the snails when they start to get close. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know about y'all, but I've been really enjoying this type of season, weirdly. But anyway, weather forecast says that one part of him feels bad for the snail people, while the other part of him, the dark side of him, still wants to die because he still wants to go, because he still wants to be with his girlfriend, and is honestly glad this is happening. Anastasia's like, what is this fucking nonsense coming out of your mouth? And he just wants to know where Jolene is. He's like, fine, I'll tell you, fine, go get to Jolene, but after we settle the score with Pucci. So by this point, they finally kind of agreed, and Anastasia's going to be helping him out with dealing with Father Pucci, and mentioning he still owes FF a big one, and then he's asking him how much farther he is away from where they are. And honestly, and for the forecast tells that their dad does that. Their dad, he's like right here, only 20 meters away from where they're at currently. So as they look around trying to figure out where he is, Anastasia uses diver drive to check underground, because to be fair, with Joe, how this part has been going on, the insanity of Joe. There's no chance. There wouldn't be that surprise if he did somehow come from underground somehow with pale skin. But there is nothing underground, and all they see is still. Then they see a car off in the distance, and they think maybe he could be there. So they slowly start to approach the car. Before then, while their forecast leg gets chopped off, and it's revealed that Father Pucci is actually hiding within a pile of the snails, and you just see his eye pocket, like his eye in the shadow outside of like the little hole of the snails. It looked really fucking cool as he rises out from the snails, man. It looked really cool. The snails themselves were CGI, but besides that, man, the shot itself looked really good as he like pops out there and comes out of the snails. That shot looked really fucking cool. So then Father Pucci moves away from the side, and the reflection of the rainbow is in the back glass of the car, and Anastasia sees it, and that's when he starts to turn into a snail. He's of course questioning how this is even possible. How is he turning into a snail when he was nowhere near them? And that's when we finally figure out what is the truth behind whether Father Pucci or behind Weather Forecast's new stand ability, and how it even works, and also how Father Pucci wasn't affected at all, even though he was like completely covered by the snails, and that it's subliminal messaging. Yeah, so now, yes, JoJo, yes, Araki is now bringing in psychology into fucking stand abilities. So with this whole subliminal messaging thing, basically, if you basically you like yourself, basically something that you will only see instinctively gets buried deeper into your subconscious rather than something you would regularly see. Like say, if like one frame, like there's a random photo in a frame of a film, and then only possible for one film, that you'll remember that more than everything else. Which, to be fair, it is kind of true, man, because I definitely do pick up on certain stuff like that when I do, and we've definitely seen people who have seen subliminal messaging in like posters, especially like Disney posters from the Disney restaurants. I'm sure y'all have all seen the conspiracies about the Lion King poster having like a naked woman on it in Mufasa's nose, the dick appearing in the Little Mermaids poster as well. I think there might be a couple other Disney posters people have gotten conspiracy theories about, and she'll see what's in the poster that's kind of more sexual in nature. I'm sure there's other ones, but those are the first two that I could think of, man. And basically, because the rainbow, just seeing the rainbow activates the subliminal messaging, and you think of snails. Now, the reason for why it's snails in particular is either one, because it just projects the snails that just make you think of snails, or it could be more of a primal urge type of thing. Either way, whenever you see the rainbow, you will feel like you're turning into a snail, and because of that, that's how Father Pucci hasn't been affected by the stand ability, because he like removed the disc out of the he shows like two small discs in it. They also look about the sides of those like those like PSP discs, or the VMUs, I think they were called, or the GameCube disc. Basically, that I guess because he removed the disc from his eye, he's basically now completely blind. He can't see anything. How he figured this out was due to the fact that when this originally happened back in 1987, he saw a blind woman did not get affected by the snails as everyone else did. So that's when he knew that it was something relating to sight. So yeah, that's how Weather Forecast's new ability works. It's subliminal messaging. Honestly, it's a pretty cool concept for a stand ability to bring in some psychology into it. And yeah, but it is kind of crazy to see a Rocket now he's bringing in fucking psychology into like stand abilities. But anyway, now we got that out of the way. One thing also though what's really cool here about the fight is that actually after he gets his leg chopped up, eventually Anastasia actually uses Diver Drive and basically gives Weather back a leg, and he fights Father Pucci, sends Father Pucci into a car getting crashed. Thought the animation here looked really good as well. But then eventually he makes Anastasia see the rainbow again. He turns even more into a snail, and thereby deactivates Diver Drive, and he ends up just falling right back. And the shot of it where Weather Forecast loses his balance, lands right on where his missing leg is, and you see blood splatter everywhere, looked really cool, man. I really dug that shot, man. That shot looked really cool, man. And also, one other thing about the whole subliminal message thing, when he was explaining the whole thing about film, I don't know about y'all, but the first thing I thought about was Fight Club. Because you guys remember the scene. I forget the dude's name, but the guy that's played by Brad Pitt in Fight Club. It reminded me of he would like randomly stick shots of dicks into films when he was screening a movie, when he was like the projectionist at a movie theater. That's literally what that reminded me of. The second I saw the movie theater film thing, I just thought of Fight Club. That's those scenes from Fight Club, man. Anyway, we then actually see like sweat going down on Father Pucci's cheek, and and the sound design here was really cool. I love the sound effect as we hear this kind of sound, it sounds like that screeching. That sounds like nails on a chalkboard kind of thing. It sounded really cool. I thought the sound design here for that little sound effect was really well done, man. But anyway, and he's asking Weather Forecast, what's this accursed sound? And then we find out that actually that what he's doing is basically using his stand to take the blood that's sprinkled all over the place and uses and evaporates the blood, freezing it and turning it into the shapes of spikes. And because Father Pucci is blind, he's constantly stepping into these because he cannot see them. Also, one other thing that was also interesting is that Father Pucci also eventually cuts off Weather Forecast's other leg, and then he says something, and I don't know if he was, and then he says something, I don't know if it was in Italian or Latin, but they do, I think, give the English translation of it. I think he said it was like to be crucified or something like that, man. I thought that was interesting. And also, Young Yes pronunciation there was real good. I'm sure that probably took him like 10 takes to make sure he got the pronunciation of it right, because I'm assuming it's probably Latin or something, or like I said, maybe even Italian, because he does have Italian lineage. But either way, shouts to Young Yes before it's there. His pronunciation there sounded like it was on point. I wouldn't know. I don't speak Latin, and neither am I Italian, but It sounded good to me. Anyway, so Weather gives Father Pucci an ultimatum. Either A, keep walking through this place blind and obviously keeps like getting his foot stabbed, but if he falls over, he's obviously dead by the spears, or to finally give him back his eyes to see, but then he will then get affected by the snails. And so Weather Forecast slowly starts to make his approach as he got Anastasia talking shit like, yeah, bro, you're done now. Anastasia's got the upper hand on you, which also, I forgot to mention, but earlier on the episode, Anastasia says says like, Father Pucci, your big brother isn't a power stand like yours, which I just thought was so funny that Anastasia straight up says your big brother rather than just say Father Pucci. Now, obviously, we know that probably in the Japanese he probably said Oni-chan, Oni-chan, or something akin to that, or maybe like Nissan or something like that. I just thought that was funny that Viz kept that, or rather Bang Zoom, I guess I should be saying, just kept this big brother. No, I don't know about y'all, but every time I hear a character say big brother in anime, at least on the dub anyway, it more times than not never works. It just sounds like kind of off. Like this is definitely just like a direct translation from the Japanese, because in Japan they always refer to their big brothers as Nissan or Unis or Uni-chan and all that shit. I was just always like, sometimes they change it, sometimes other times they don't. When they do, but yeah, I kind of wish they did change it just to have it say, I don't know, Pucci or something else, bro. Because just hearing say big brother just does not sound right, man. But hey, it is what it is. Anyway, so as Weather Forecast starts to approach him, then it is revealed that this was all a part of Father Pucci's plan. And so what he does is use Pale Snake, jabs Pale Snake's finger into Anastasia's neck, and uses him as his eyes to try and get him out of the situation. So he gives him directions on where to go. He tells him to take 6 steps there, then there's gonna be like 6 spikes in front of you, take a hard left, then take 5 steps, and then you're out of it. So as Father Pucci is getting out away from this, that's when Anastasia tells him that there's something they didn't know before, and that there was some blood on his shirt, which then of course Weather Forecast uses to turn into a spike and pierces his neck, which in the shots and the storyboarding here also really good as well. So that's when Weather Forecast uses Weather fully, and then he starts creating like this massive wind pressure onto Father Pucci, trying to get him to fall back onto the spike itself to obviously kill him. But then Father Pucci then uses uses Pale Snake and have him send a handful of the spikes by him, sending them right towards Weather Forecast. And I also got to say, y'all's performance here was fantastic. Here, he's like, yes, I hope I plan for him. I'm sure he will dodge it, but when he does, that will change the wind pressure. Then that is my time to flee. I just love the way he said that. That is my time to flee. I love the way Young said that, man. So, but instead, Weather Forecast, like the Chad that he is, he just eats that shit. He does not move a millimeter and just takes the spikes head on, man. That was pretty badass by Weather. And the shot itself, when we see all where the spikes landed on him, also looked really good. Once again, shout out to the storyboard artist for this episode, man. Amazing work. And of course, is Rocky as well. Man knows how to panel shit. Anyway, so then he actually uses the spikes those spikes and kind of turns him into like a pseudo, like a rope sort of thing, connecting both him and Father Pucci together. And so he pulls him in here. Now this I thought was absolutely ingenious by David Productions, and this was probably the highlight of the episode for me, where they turn everything black and white. You see Weather Forecast and Father Pucci is just silhouettes, and it just turns black and white like a manga, with the only primary colors being red and the blue from Weather Forecast eyes. It looks absolutely amazing. Once again, it proves that black and white is a lost art, man. I am sorry to get on a film student rant for y'all, but y'all know, but I gotta say, man, black and white is a lost art, man. Black and white is a lost art, man. I always love whenever they pair black and white with like maybe 1 or 2 primary colors, like a red. It always looks amazing, man. And this episode was no different. As well as the ending of Thor: Love and Thunder. Like, say what you will about that movie, you cannot tell me that the Negative Zone fight didn't look amazing with the black and white and the very limited use of color. You cannot tell me it did not look absolutely amazing. Also, gotta say, love the OST here. The song they were playing here as Weather Forecast brought him in close. We got flashbacks to what happened to him, and of course their sister, and then we get the main shot of them like being like they're screaming at each other, where they're like coming in close. Man, the main face-off shot looks absolutely amazing. So then weather forecast locks him into a sleeper hold, and this is when Father Pucci starts to beg for his life, like, oh, but I could have, tells him like that at any time he could have killed him, but he didn't because he thought he could save him. And I gotta say, this is honestly pretty impressive by Father Pucci, because as this dude is begging for his life, trying to find any sort, and I love he even says this isn't me just making up excuses to save my life, which I thought was pretty funny because that's exactly what he's doing. But I gotta say, this is pretty impressive because as he's begging for his life, Father Pucci is once again counting the prime numbers as he's begging for his life. The fact this man can multitask like that is honestly pretty incredible. So, shout out to Father Pucci, man. This man can multitask. But then, as he continues begging for his life, and I love the final line. He says, like, this is how you treat the man that saved your life, right? As weather forecasts about to land the killing blow. Of course, the Porsche crashes into another car, which obviously stops the fight, gets weather forecast away from Father Pucci. As Jolie and the others get out of the car, they see a figure in the dust cloud in front of them, revealing to be Father Pucci. Of course, Jolene goes over to attack him. I like the way she actually did it too, where she actually like wraps her threads around the tire and then uses it to like spring herself right towards him. It looked really cool. But as she chose to approach Father Pucci, we then see Pale Snake's hand thrust through weather forecast's chest, and so it looks like it makes it look like he's dead. And Jolene's of course shocked as well as everyone else. Where it's then revealed that is not actually Father Pucci, but instead it is just a bunch of after images that he has now been able to create. And we end the episode off with weather forecast's supposed death. Now, Grant, we have the death music playing, but we do not see his spirit leave his corpse. I learned this from FF, because you guys remember I was mentioning something with the FF as well. But if we do not see his spirit leave the corpse, then that character is not dead. Even if the death music is playing, if I do not see a spirit leave that goddamn corpse, there is no death. So I could be wrong, and weather could actually be dead. But given the fact we did not see his full spirit leave his body like we typically see in JoJo, I have a feeling that weather forecast is somehow still alive, or they're going to find some way to revive him back to life. We'll have to wait and see. Either way, we see that he had a disc in his hand, or Emporio finds that it's a disc in his hand, and it's revealed to be his stand weather forecast, and he entrusts it over to Jolie. So, yeah. Like I said, Weather could be dead, or he could still be alive, and maybe once they put the disc back in him, he'll be back to life. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that, ladies and gentlemen. Either way, guys, that is the end of the episode. Overall, this episode was absolutely fucking fantastic, man. Love the fight between Father Pucci and Weather Forecast, man. Overall, I'm going to give this episode a 9.5 out of 10, guys. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on my socials if you feel like it. Links down in the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time. You